welcome to In the Cool of the Day in today's segment of People Connecting People. I'm your host, Ruth Pegeron, and I have a special show for you today. My guest has over 33 years of health insurance and employee benefits experience. He has held director-level positions at Humana, United Health, Aetna, and CVS Health. His focus for the past 11 years has been to educate seniors and other Medicare-eligible individuals as to their Medicare enrollment deadlines, enrollment options, and potential voidable enrollment penalties. He frequently hosts in-person and virtual educational seminars for community groups, church groups, employers, and veteran groups. He is licensed to assist clients in Virginia, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Texas, New Jersey, and Delaware. So please welcome Medicare insurance specialist, Randy Phillip. So thank you so much, Randy, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I was listening to that. I'm like, who's she talking about?
Who's she talking about? I know. Well, one of the things I think is a little bit of an error said 33 years, and you're not looking that old. So good for you.
Years of Botox.
Okay, that'll do it. Well, thank you so much again for being here, and tell us a little bit about just who you are, Randy.
Let's see. So I'm the eldest of two kids.
Okay.
My father's retired FBI.
Oh.
My mom is a retired nurse.
Okay.
We moved around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was supposed to be a doctor, but my handwriting is horrible, and I don't think I like sick people.
Okay.
So I had to change, right? I wanted to be a pilot.
Oh.
I don't think I could see, and I think I have issues with clearing my ears. So I mean, you know.
So those were obstacles for sure.
Definitely obstacles. So insurance was the last thing that was available.
Well, interesting though. Now, so when you said I wanted to be a doctor, or was going to be a doctor, so health has been somewhere in your mixed DNA for a long time.
Yeah, I think
so that leads me to my question: how did you start your career in insurance?
I went to college at Hampton University.
Okay.
And they did a really good, at least the business program, did a really good job of bringing on companies, variety of companies in for interviews.
Oh, okay.
And so I remember I started interviewing in my sophomore year for internship positions. And I remember a guy saying, look, we got this job. You're going to get a company car. We're going to pay you $90,000 your first year. And $90,000 was a lot of money back in the day.
A lot of money.
And I said, listen, mister, you stop that talking. I don't care what that job is. I want it.
You're right.
So he said, but don't you want, I said, you stop talking. I want that job.
Right.
And so I
car,
kind of got it.
That was car too. Yeah, that's exciting.
A company car, yeah. So, and the money, of course,
and the
right?
money, yeah.
Right? So, so somehow I didn't get that job, but I got a job like it. And so that got me in the insurance industry.
Oh, so you started that's early.
Oh, yeah.
Like right out of college.
Right when I had hair.
Okay, wow.
A long time ago.
Yes. So insurance, I'm sure back then is a lot different the way it looks today.
It was. So it was health insurance when we were working with small companies, right? And what I would say is the industry was better. There was much more competition, and that competition made people be honest, right?
Okay.
Right. So competition helps. You know, so if there's only one grocery store, the price could be whatever. But so everybody, all the companies we had great customer service, and we sold great products, and it was good to be in the industry. And then.
A lot of things happen.
And then a lot of things changed.
Right, just like a lot of industries. So did you start in one area, and now fast forward a little bit and tell us today, where do you focus in? I know we just said that it's in Medicare.
Yeah. So I started doing employee benefits, so working with small companies, and then after healthcare reform or Obamacare, I pivoted and started working with Medicare. Still with those from work at companies, corporations, and then in 2019 I decided, okay, I'm gonna do it on my own.
Okay.
And so that way, instead of representing a company, I could represent individuals and say, you tell me what your needs are. I'll look at the market, I'll assess the market, kind of like a realtor, and I'll bring to you what is the best product for you. Versus when I work for an insurance company, the best product was that insurance company.
Oh,
so now I've got the ability.
So when you work for an insurance company or an employer, you kind of have to do what they want.
Right,
instead.
you have to do their bidding. So,
okay,
now I'm able to say, look, with my knowledge, I'm looking out in the industry, and here are the 10 companies that are out there. here are 5 of the 10 companies that I think best match you. Let's figure out which of those 5 would be the fit for you.
Okay, that's interesting. You say 10 companies, because I can remember some years ago, even not that many years ago, but of course 33 years ago, where you used to always just hear the big, like Blue Cross or at like really big companies. You didn't hear of a lot of smaller. So when you say 10 just now, there's really that many options, or quite a few options now?
There are a lot of options, and then each company might have 4 or 5 options.
Within their
own
umbrella.
Options, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, well, tell me what's important to you, and then let's figure out from there.
Right. So a client can say to you, well, it's important for me to be close to home, or it's important for me to keep my doctor. That's important.
I want to be able to travel. I don't want a referral. I want dental insurance.
Right.
Those kind of things. So, and especially in the DC metro, if we were a little further down South Virginia, it would be more of a challenge. There'd be less competition. But up here in the DC metro area, this is a major market, so there are a lot of options for people.
Okay. So as far as your education and getting those options and understanding them, because it sounds like when you use the analogy of a realtor, I spent a little time, just a little bit, on the loan side of that. And there were so many different loans that you just think, money, I need to buy a house, and I just need to pay a bank. But it doesn't work that simply. And it sounds like this doesn't either. So how do you keep educated, or what does your license say you have to do just to know these options?
All right, so there's an insurance license, so think of that like your driver's license, right? So you have to renew that every so many years.
Right.
But then each year, there's an industry exam that you have to take. You get three tries, right?
Oh, wow.
And you've got to score 90 or better, I believe. And that washes out some people. And then after you do the industry certification, and that happens now. So I did mine I did mine last month. And then so each individual insurance carrier then has their certification. And so these certifications could last 60 minutes and 90 minutes each. The industry one, that could take a day or two, because it's different modules that you got to go through and then answer questions, and there's a big exam at the end. So there's a lot of industry update that is required, because again, I deal with senior citizens. So you really want to, seniors and babies, right? You really want to have kid gloves and really do good work by those seniors.
Right, and you want to make sure you have the knowledge, because it sounds like it changes a lot.
It does.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That's why I don't have hair.
Well, what has made your hair come out? What is the biggest challenge with all of the changes in the industry, just on a professional side, and then I'm going to ask the same question for on the consumer side.
On the professional side, just industry changes, just companies coming in or out of the market, companies making drastic changes to their products, companies that financially are having difficulties and have to up their products and make changes that negatively affect the consumer, maybe a higher deductible or a higher copay or something like that. On the consumer side, we're dealing with grandmas and grandpas, and so where I might say to you, hey, I took a picture today, I'm going to attach this picture to a text and I'm going to send it to you, and I want you to attach your picture that you took and send it to me, right? When I talk to my dad, wait, I got which picture? And I'm going to attach it where? Can I just give you my phone? Or one of my favorite seniors, I sent her, and this was during COVID, right? So we weren't doing face to face. So I said, I sent you something for you to review, and she got the email, and she said, it's a PDF. What's a PDF? And I said, I tell you what, I'm going to drive. We're going to sit outside your house, and I'm going to show you first off how to download PDF, right? The Adobe, right?
Somebody else is going to send it at some point,
right? Because so we're starting from there, and what I'm realizing is that the level of, and it's also how this has helped me personally, is that the level of patience that I give to my clients, I give to my family, to my parents, right? Because you're quick to with your own family, but
or let me do that for you.
Right.
So, I can do it.
The level of patience. So on a personal level, this has definitely taught me patience.
That's wonderful.
And then the last thing, working through COVID, with senior citizens, because especially in the beginning where we were all afraid, but they were more and more afraid,
because they were in the demographics,
right. And so really just having having kid gloves, so I wear 2 masks when I see my senior citizens, even now. And they say, well, you don't have to. Have you been vaccinated? Every vaccination that's available, I'll get. But I don't want to be the guy that makes my clients sick. So I'm really treat them with kid gloves and really be careful with them. I was telling someone earlier, I had a client that said, when I go to your house, would you like me to take my shoes off? No, you don't have to take your shoes off, but could you lift your shoe up? And this lady sprayed me with, could have been a hose. I mean, the bottom of my shoes. And I'm like, oh, okay. But you know what?
Right.
I want you to feel comfortable. So.
That's a good story, though. That's a very good story. So it sounds like it has worked for you, this career. Is there anything else in insurance that you've ever done or that you plan to do?
So again, I'm a former employee benefits, so I used to do, I've kind of lost my vigor for that.
Okay.
I'm also starting to do under 65. So the, the individual insurance, they kind of what they call it Obamacare. So I'm working on that. So those, Medicare is probably 90%. The individual under 65 is the other 10% that I'm doing. And I'm hopeful that I could ride this out until it's retirement time and I don't have to learn anything else.
Okay.
And then just be on a beach someplace.
And then be on a beach someplace.
Yeah. I'll be a lifeguard.
Right. So when you say Delaware and Texas and all those kind of things, so if someone lives here, how do you help them in Texas, or do they have to live in the state in which they're?
So they have to live in one of the states that I have a license in,
Okay.
right? So Maryland, Virginia, DC, Delaware, New Jersey, Texas. So those are places where I currently have clients. If someone says, hey, I've got aunts and relatives in another state that we'd like or a civic group that we'd like you to work with, I can easily get a license in that state. But I focus on there's tons of senior citizens here. So in this DC metro area. So I've just really been focusing here in this area.
Right. And so as a client comes, if they do need it, you just get take the test or whatever the relevant licensing is so that you can serve them there. Because I can see where that happens. Where I live here, my mom is in Pennsylvania, although she's probably saying I'm dead, lady. But we know you are, Mom. But she lived in Pennsylvania. If I would have met you when she was in her Medicare, I would have probably said, well, can we help her with you here? Because I have more contact here and I'm helping her as her POA versus if I went there and hired somebody. So is that kind of how it works? It's like
that, or I might have counterparts that are there. So I've got a lot of counterparts across the country that I work with. Got a buddy in Texas. He's licensed in Texas and in Louisiana. So we might tag team or just might to have him reach out to the person.
Okay. Wow, that's good to know because it does happen. Now, what if another question on that? What if I lived in New Orleans, Louisiana, or Texas, or where you're licensed, and now I'm moving here? Can you help me with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because each time with Medicare, each time you move to a new a service area, you have to change the plan.
Okay.
The government requires you to change the plan. So yeah, we can help you with that.
I was just getting ready to ask you, why do you have to change?
The government
tells you.
I love my government.
Yes.
Right. So the government says if you move to a different service area, you have to change to a new plan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good to know. Well, thank you so much. It's time for a short break. We will return after these important messages. Welcome back. You are watching In the Cool of the Day and today's segment of People Connecting People with my special guest, Medicare insurance specialist, Randy Phillip. So prior to the break, we were just talking about the different licenses in different states. And now I want to come and I want to talk just about customer experience. Some people say customer experience, some people say customer service. But the bottom line is how you engage with a customer and what is your philosophy in doing so.
One of the reasons why I really like pivoting from doing group health insurance to working with senior citizens is that you've got more immediate response from senior citizens in that, and that I have an affinity for the elderly, right? And so like if I see someone that needs to cross the road, that needs some help, or needs a door held or something like that. I have an affinity, especially for senior citizens, or the whole get up. You're taking a metro and you've got a seat. Give a senior citizen your seat. So I think as a society we need to do a better job of hand-holding our seniors. So that being said, the customer service, insurance companies are expecting folks to do everything online. Mm-hmm. The reality is that this marketplace is not there just yet. Right. And that's not a denigrating statement. That's just that they're not there that yet. So my ability to explain things to folks, and I would use a car analogy, like so if I sell you a Ford car, right? Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of neat buttons, mm-hmm. but if you don't know what the buttons mean, it's of no value, right? And going back to a James Bond movie, right? If you press the wrong button, the ejector button, right? Yeah. It might eject yourself or the person in the car. Mm-hmm. So it's really important that we take the time to explain, and especially if I'm in person, where I can read, and read their eyes and see what they're doing, and here you see on page 3 where I'm seeing this. You see, and let's write this down. So really to make sure that the senior citizen has a good understanding of what mm-hmm. they've got. Mm-hmm. And if I walk away and they don't know what they have, then I've done wrong, right? Mm-hmm. And I am very quick to say, you know what? Let's circle back on this on another time. Let's stop this application. Mm-hmm. Let's start when you're a little fresher, maybe when you've got a family member here, mm-hmm. To make sure that what you think you have or what you think you're getting is matches with what is mm-hmm. in reality.
Okay. Yeah. So you really customize it to where they are. Because you meet some, seniors is just like this vast word, but Medicare is for anyone over 65, right?
Yes, Medicare.
That's the definition.
Over age 65, or some people that are Medicare eligible under age 65 if you've been declared disabled. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So anyone Medicare eligible is usually in an age where they may need a little bit more assistance. But it's so interesting because my brother is definitely under 65. And he's not Medicare eligible mm-hmm. by any stretch of imagination. However, he is not computer sophisticated. Mm-hmm. He definitely still has a flip phone. Mm-hmm. And it's challenging with him to mm-hmm. do different things. You still have to mail him a check. So mm-hmm. I can only imagine. Mm-hmm. And his frustration level mm-hmm. is really great. So I can only imagine someone that is, definitely over 65 that can't. It has to be very difficult for them. So is there still paper? Do paper still exist? Or do you have to take the computer to them and do it
I take the computer to them, okay. but I do give them paper. So okay. I do give them benefit summaries, and we walk through that, and we do page by page. Okay. And I say, now I'm reading on page 3 in the middle, okay. right? Uh-huh. And I let them know. I say, you know what? I'm going to read this because it's important that my mom knows that I'm able to read, right?
Yes. So, that is important.
So what we try and do is deflect any bit of uncomfortable, mm-hmm. Anything that might be uncomfortable for them, and deflect anything that might make them feel less than, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so we walk page by page, and we will repeat things and circle things, and really, are there questions? Are you sure? I'll mm-hmm. give examples, okay. Just to try and bring out anything that might be an issue. But at the end of the day, hey, if you have any questions, call me, email me, write me, so and there are no dumb questions, there are no late questions. So we really try and make sure I want you to have a resource mm-hmm. That you feel comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And I want to treat you at the level that I would treat my family. And I like my fammy.
Right. Yes, so you do have to preface that.
Right. So I want you to feel that you're being treated like my mom, mm-hmm. and that you might call my mom and say, you know what your son did? And mm-hmm. and I want that to be, your son did well.
That's right. Yeah. Exactly. So. That is very well said. Is there anything else you can share with the maze of Medicare that is often associated with Medicare that people go through that you help them with, maybe?
Yeah, so you've got some folks that, so you're eligible for Medicare, again, if you're disabled under age 65 or when you turn 65. But in this area, there are a lot of people that still work, mm-hmm. Beyond that. And so there are some things that you've got to do that are different if you're going to be working beyond age 65. Okay. And you've got to make sure you've got coverage. There are potential penalties, for those folks if they're not, if they don't have credible coverage. So there are some things you just have to work through. The other thing is, if you are in this area, we see a lot of high dollar people, so people making over $103,000. There's a tax. It's called the IRMA tax, right?
Okay.
So I call it the Bernie Sanders tax, right? So there's a tax that people would pay in addition to their standard Part B premium because of their income. You know, so just making sure that people understand that potential liability. And so it's not a bad thing, you know, right? You know, but just understanding everything that's out there. Yeah.
Now, what about open enrollment? I know that is usually like a big deal. You see a lot of commercials, you see a lot of written materials, like open enrollment is everywhere. And I always look at that as a partial maze, but I know it has to happen, and I think it's annual, right? Is it annual or
So it's the annual open enrollment period.
Okay.
So it's from October 15th to December 7th.
Okay.
And I kind of look at that as the running of the bulls, right? In Spain, you know, the running of the bulls. So, and during this period, if you are 64 or over, this is the most popular time that you're going to be in your life. Okay. So even more popular when you were the captain of the football or the captain of the cheerleading squad, because everybody is going to be mailing and calling you during that period, because this is your opportunity to find out what the plans are and to to enroll into a plan or to change a plan that will start as of January 1.
Wow.
Okay. So it's going to be your most popular, where you're going to get, even in an election year, you're going to get goob gobs of paperwork. So what I tell my folks is, look, you can do a couple things. You can watch the TV and listen to them. You could go through this pile of stuff and make the decision yourself. And you are smart enough to do that. Or you can call me and we'll sit down, we'll move that pile aside and we'll say, tell me about your needs. And then I'll match that with what's available in the market, and then we'll try and pare that down to the plans or plan that is best for you.
Okay, because it could be a difference.
Could be
coming off of a private plan or an employer plan, or I guess you don't come off. Isn't there something like supplement?
Well, like so supplement? Some people have retirement benefits, right?
Yes.
And then some people, they retire at age 55 or whatever, and they really don't have any insurance, so they need this insurance to kick in the month that they turn 65.
The month that they turn 65, and it does kick in at 65. Okay, so that's so open enrollment. I would think for all professionals to do what you do, but also more the consumer. Like it's a big time window. It
is a big time, because if you miss the open enrollment period and you either have enrolled into a plan that you're not happy with, or you didn't enroll into a plan, you're stuck. You're stuck on original Medicare if you enrolled in original Medicare. So if you miss this time period and you don't have any special election, you don't have a reason for missing it that the government will recognize, you've got to wait until next year. To the next
I was going to ask you, so you got to wait the whole year. So there's no other time in the year that you do it.
Well, not if you miss your open enrollment period. So there's a couple of things. So I turned 65. So when I turned 65, I've got 3 months before the month I turned 65, the month that I turned 65, and then 3 months after. So you've got a 7-month window when you turn 65 that you can enroll into Medicare. But let's say you're in Medicare and it's the open enrollment period. So if you don't make a plan change, so if you think that you're in a plan, if you're not happy in a plan, or if you're not in a plan and you don't elect a plan between October 15th and December 7th, then you actually have to wait until next open enrollment period. Right.
Wow. Yeah. And then I have to ask this because the deadline is a deadline, right?
Deadline is a deadline.
Is that how it works?
We're working
12 o'clock on that midnight?
Midnight, I love my government, right? I love my government. So the government says, look, if the applicant, and so they have us data enter the applications, so that we don't have paper. So yeah, if at, was it 11:59:59? If I haven't pressed sent on your application on December 7th, then you've missed your open enrollment period. Okay. Now, if there could be a special election period where if there's a hurricane or something like that, there's an extension, right? But for the most part, you've got that open enrollment period.
Okay. And is there places, I guess, people can go just to get educational seminars? I'm sure you host them based on your bio, you host them. Do you do them a little bit heavier right before that time, or how do you?
We do them all year round.
Okay.
So we do them at churches, other places of worship, other civic groups. So Medicare 101s, where there's no sales, it's just Part A, Part B, Part C. Here are your waiting periods. Here are the various options. You could stay on original Medicare. You could stay on original Medicare and get a Medicare supplement. You can get a Medicare Advantage plan. So we do walk through the various options. And then the other thing, because we have a lot in this area, if you're a federal retiree, if you're a retired school teacher that has retiree benefits, your benefits are entirely separate. So we try and parse those people out because we need them to stay in their lane because they've got better benefits. Okay. And on that one, I'm allowed to say better benefits because you've got, if you work for the federal government, you've got the federal retiree system, which is a really good system. But sometimes those people see the commercials, right? The popular commercials, they're like, I want that. And you're like, no. You're married. Your marriage is good. Don't come out here in the streets.
Exactly.
Not
just because you're of the age and
just because you see a commercial.
You see a commercial.
And you think, oh my God, it's great.
Or you hear others talk about it.
You've got to say, your benefits are different as a federal retiree. I know Fairfax County teacher has a retiree benefits, and then some of the other, so if you've got those benefits, you really need to look at those first.
And before trying to come over into those.
Because you may not be able to get back.
Okay. So once you leave, you may not be able to come back. Got it. Thank you for that. That's good information. I'm sure our audience is appreciating that information as well. And thank you so much for presenting it so clearly because it makes a lot of sense. And so I guess when you would be in that situation, it sounds like you iron it out enough that people can truly look at their own self situation and say, I could pick this, I could pick that. And that's what it's really all about. So that's great. So tell me this. What is one last thing you would tell our audience if they're in a Medicare? Because it sounds like that's usually the client that you lean towards, although you're open to others. But if there's one thing or one bit of advice you can give them, what would it be?
When I was a young man, when I would have loose teeth, right? Because there was money involved, I'd pull them out myself. And once I had a pair of pliers, and I pulled out one of my wisdom teeth or molars, whatever it was. When I woke up on the bathroom floor with a long tooth in my hand, right, because it was an impacted tooth, I realized that there are some things I should have somebody else do for me. And so what I would say is that I'm an expert. You don't pay me. There's no increase in your cost or anything like that for my services. Have somebody that you can talk to, that you can look at, who can evaluate your options and say, here's what I think, right? It doesn't cost you anymore. There's no increase in price. It's the same benefits. If you enrolled yourself, it's the same benefits.
That's good advice. It's just to call an expert.
Impacted wisdom teeth.
Remember that. Well, thank you so much. It's been awesome speaking to you. So thank you. You made Medicare sound interesting and not so intimidating. So thank you for that. Well, it's that time again. If you have any questions about today's segment, please see the information scrolling below about our special guest, Randy. You have been watching In the Cool of the Day and today's segment of People Connecting People. Thanks for watching and bye-bye. See you next time.